Today I have a really simple question for you. Are your people holding you over a barrel? I've noticed this trend emerging amongst a number of organisations we're working with. If you've got people in your team that you feel are holding you over a barrel, this short video should give you some suggestions on dealing with them. My name's Simon Tyson. I'm the CEO of the Real Learning Experience. What do we mean when we say hold you over a barrel? Well, are you not addressing some of their poor behaviour or poor performance for fear of the consequences of going through the process of addressing it? Are there things they're getting away with because they seem to hold some power over you, some power that they shouldn't have? Of course, I don't mean power as in that they're blackmailing you in some way, they know some deep, dark secret about your past, although that could be an interesting topic for another video. I mean a power that they have to instill fear in managers about what will happen if I deal with this person as they need to be dealt with. Now, we're typically seeing 5 ways in which employees are creating this fear, and they're quite simple. Firstly, employees suggest, well, you know what, if I don't like what you tell me, I'll go and work somewhere else, I'll quit. And good staff are hard to find. So, up to you, but if you push me, I might just leave. The second is, well, you know, if I don't like what you tell me, I'll just go and talk to your manager and they'll deal with you because what you're asking me is not fair. The third is, well, I'll go off on stress leave. The fourth, and closely related to that, is I'll just suddenly become sick. And the fifth, and the one that often causes the most fear but is often the least realistic, is, well, I'll go and talk to WorkSafe or someone like that because I think you're bullying me. My first suggestion is this: you've got to do things well, because if you do things well, none of those options really have any value for them. The rule I always walk to is, are you asking people to do the right thing, and are you asking them in the right way? If you're adhering to those 2 principles, then really none of those other consequences that they hold over your head have any real weight. Of course, they're still free to leave, and frankly, that might be the best thing. So let's work through those one at a time. Let's go back to the first one. What if they leave? If I ask them to do things that they don't want to do, if I hold them accountable and they leave, I then have to find someone new. I know that's inconvenient, but don't fall into the trap of believing having a body in a seat is the same as having a worthwhile employee. If the price of keeping someone is allowing them to behave or perform at a level that's not acceptable to you, then the price is too high. Yes, it's inconvenient to lose people, but it's much more inconvenient to keep people who are destructive or not helpful. It's the death by 1,000 cuts. Instead of suffering the pain once of, gee, I've got to replace this person, you let them undermine performance gradually every day in their actions. The second one is all about going to see your manager. I don't like what you're telling me, so I'll go and see your manager. One of the things I'm really strong on is, if you know you need to have a strong performance management discussion with one of your team, and you know that they're likely to run to your manager and complain about it, and particularly if you're worried that your manager may undermine you, I would have a discussion with your manager first. I would go to them, outline the behaviour, the performance that you're concerned with, outline how that's undermining the results and the team performance, and outline what you plan to do about it, the discussion you're going to have. Get buy-in from your manager before you even start that they'll back you up on this. When we say your manager, that may be in fact your direct manager, but it may also mean talking to an external department such as HR. The third consequence, could they go off on stress leave? Sure they could. And you know, sometimes the system allows people to do that. However, if you've got a well-documented process in which you can show that you held people accountable to their performance, you ask them to do the right thing, and you ask them in the right way, then there's going to be a limited period typically in which they can go off on stress leave. If you think someone is a bit of a risk for this, I would outline your plan of action and talk to HR first. The same principles really apply to someone who goes off on sick leave because they've been asked to perform at a reasonable level. We see this all the time. Someone has a discussion with their manager, they don't like the outcome, the next day they call in sick. Once again, it doesn't feel like a game at the time, but you've sort of got to play the game. It's the way people sometimes respond, and the system allows them to do it. The other thing though is that the system only gives them a certain amount of sick leave. If they find someone prepared to sign off on that sick leave for a period of time, well, that's just the process you need to go through. Of course, that sick leave will run out, and then they need to either come back to work and be accountable or go and do something else. Now, the fifth one, and the one that strikes terror into a lot of managers' hearts, is that whole one around bullying, around I'll talk to Fair Work or someone like that because what you're asking me to do is not fair, not reasonable. Well, go back to the principles. Are you asking them to do something fair, something reasonable, and are you asking them in a reasonable way? If you are, you're on strong ground. It's okay to ask people to do their job. It's okay to give them performance-related feedback as long as it's given respectfully and appropriately. The authorities aren't fools. They're not going to allow someone to use them to help them avoid doing their job. So make sure you follow strong principles, make sure you follow a strong process, and you'll be fine. Performance management is one of the biggest issues we see facing leaders today. When you have to hold people accountable for their performance or their behaviour, it inevitably feels more uncomfortable, it inevitably involves more conflict. That's one of the responsibilities of a leader. And as soon as you decided to accept a position in which you manage one or more other people, then you became a leader. I hope this video has provided you with some reassurance and some strong pointers in dealing with these things. Thank you again for watching.